Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Studio Live today on this week's GarageBand Weekly. It's all about Apple, baby. I mean, it is every week, but we're breaking down the brand new Apple event. It was called Let Loose. It had lots of iPads. It had a brand new version of Logic Pro for iPad. It's all a bit exciting, and we're going to dive into that. The way it's going to work here today, we're doing our summary. So just the facts, ma'am. We're going to take a deep dive into all of the different things that were announced and talked about during the event. We're going to go shopping. How much is it going to cost to buy this new gear, Johns? We'll find out. And of course, we're going to do some Q&A. If you do have a question, all you need to do is put a big Q in front of your comment, and I will circle back to any comments that you have that are related to this event. And for those that are joining us live, thank you for joining us. If you enjoy what we do around here, feel free to hit the big thumbs up button down below, and don't forget to subscribe, join the Patreon, become a member, do all those cool things that make you a cool person and give you that warm feeling down in the cockles. We will dive in and do the summary, because we got some stuff to summarize here. So let's dive straight into it. iPads were the star of the show, weren't they? Yeah. So we have a brand new iPad Air. We've got 11-inch and 13-inch now in the iPad Air. They're rocking the M2 processor now, if you can believe it. Yeah, the way the iPad Air works is they kind of just upgrade it from the iPad Pro previous model. So we've now got M2 iPad Airs, and they've got very similar but not the same form factors as the new Pro models as well. Speaking of the Pro models, we have two new iPad Pros, 11-inch and 13-inch. Yeah, they've added 0.1 inches to the size of the iPad Pro, starting at $9.99 and $12.99, 256 gigabytes, all the way up to 2 terabytes if you want that extra storage. To hook up to your new iPad Pro or to your iPad Air, we've got the new Magic Keyboard, which is $299 for the 11-inch, $349 for the 13-inch. In fact, that's only for the iPad Pro. We'll give you the details in a moment. It gets confusing because the other item, the new pencil, is available for both the iPad Pro and the iPad Air 2024 models. It's getting confusing, isn't it? But I do like it that M4 is 2024. Do you think they did that on purpose? That they rushed the M4 so that now it's just whatever year it is, we get that number? That would be nice, wouldn't it? I've buried the lead because, of course, yeah, we get a new version of Logic Pro with some cool new features we'll talk about in a little bit, which is the session players. We've got Chroma Glow, which is like a mastering distortion outboard gear plugin. And we've got Stem Splitter as well to split out those stems for your remixes, which looks pretty cool. We've got Final Cut Pro too, which is going to be coming soon for a brand new version as well. So pretty cool that these two came out last year at the event, and we've already got version 2 just a year later. Lots of cool things we can do on our iPads. We will talk about, I don't have the slide in here, but the other thing that we have is the brand new, not the brand new, the brand old, the Gen 10 iPad is now $349. That's at a price reduction, which means the Gen 9's kind of out the door. And it means that our entire lineup of iPads, all the base level, all the entry level iPads, are now USB-C or Thunderbolt. So can we get some small violins out for lightning ports? Yes, you've treated us well. Not really, but everything is USB-C or it is Lightning Pro. And yeah, don't forget that it was kind of missed out, but there is also a Logic Pro 11 update. So if you're a Mac user, you weren't completely left out. You do have that iPad 11. So that is the crux of what's been going on here. If you just wanted the facts, if you wanted to say, Johns, tell us what's been going on, what I need to know, well, that's it. So who's this for? Well, it's for folks that have an iPad that they want to update, basically. So if you've got a really old iPad, you can now get the iPad Vanilla a bit cheaper. If you want to upgrade to something like the Air, if you're on the fence and you thought maybe the Pro, but maybe not, the Air looks like a good sweet spot in the middle there for you now, because it's got the M2 and obviously USB-C. And if you want to go all in, you want Thunderbolt port, baby, you want up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, you want all the big boy toys, or the big girl toys, or the big person toys, then you can go the iPad Pro, and that's been updated to M4. Yeah, I said it before, but it was a little bit of a surprise to me that we went M4 update. Interesting. So we will dive into our deep dive. That's a lot of diving going on there. But first, let's say good day to the folks who are here live. If you're not here live, we do live shows almost every day around here, it seems. So make sure you're subscribed, put the notifications on, ring the bell on YouTube. I don't think I've ever said that before with a straight face, but yeah, feel free to stay in touch by keeping up with everything we do around the channel. Rise of Dark Leela, hello to you. G'day Mark Bro, g'day Thomas Christ, hello Danny Gable. We've got a crow on a wire. We've got a cold acre here as well. Thank you all for joining us here live. Once again, if anyone does have any questions, you can go ahead and ask those by putting a Q in front of your question, and we will do a little Q&A at the end if anyone has any burning questions that they need to know, such as why on earth is the brand new Apple Pencil not backwards compatible with any other iPad Pro? It's a question I'll be asking. I can tell you that much. All right. G'day, Paul. Hello to Al Davis Music. I've got your question there. I'm banking it, and we will jump into that when we get to our Q&A section at the end of the show. But we got a heap more to talk about because that was the quick version. That was the just the facts version. If like me you're a giant nerd or you're just nerd adjacent and you want someone else to tell you all the nerdy facts, well, guess what? We're going to dive into all of those right now. This is my presentation of the Apple presentation, but without all the superlatives. There will be zero buttery smooths, and there will be zero machine learning AI words that are going to be confusing. We're just going to tell you what's really going on. And it is interesting, as Thomas says, that they brought out the M4 chip first on the iPad, the first time instead of a MacBook. Yeah, well, we didn't even have when the M chip came out, M1 was on the Mac, and then we were quite surprised when the M chip came to the iPad. They used to use the old A series chips, which were the same ones as we use in the iPhone, but now they've changed it up. Interesting. Off to landfill with my old Apple Pencil. Don't forget you can recycle your gear. There's plenty of electronics recyclers. Apple do a lot of recycling as well. So yeah, make sure you do it. Even if you trade it in and you get $10 off the new one, just do it because they do care about the environment and they will actually do their best to recycle it. It is better than it going into landfill. I know that was tongue in cheek, but yes, do your best to do that. Let's talk about the new updates. So Apple started the presentation with Apple Vision Pro is great. The new M3 Macs are great. Let's dive into iPad, which is what I was excited about. So the new iPad Air, there it is, the new iPad Air. It is running the M2 chip. You can get it in varieties from 128 gigabytes. Thankfully, no more 64 gigabyte. That is way too small for any iPad these days, in my humble opinion. If you're a creator, if you're just using it for games and reading stuff, fine, 64, but 128, absolute minimum for a creator's iPad. Comes in 4 stylish colors: blue, pink, some sort of orange, and some sort of grey. Yeah, because people that buy Airs are fun, and Pros not so much, as we'll see later by the colours that the Pro comes in. Here is the page I love to look at. This is what I'll be talking to mostly on all of these, because this has all of the info. I actually do really like when they do these because it gives you everything in a little snapshot there that we can read through. So let's go through this in a bit of detail. 100% recycled aluminium enclosure. That's a good thing. Running the M2 chip, so upgrade from the M1 that we had in the last one. Landscape camera. Yeah, baby. So the landscape camera means that the front-facing camera is right in the middle there as opposed to at the end, which makes a heck of a lot of sense if you're using it horizontally for things like video calls. Still got 5G. Apple Pencil support of the new one there. Comes in those 4 stylish colors, up to 1 terabytes of storage. You got the 12 megapixel camera there for the back-facing camera. Comes in 2 sizes. First time we've seen an iPad Air come in 2 different sizes, 11-inch and 13-inch. And I'm so glad that we now have alignment across the sizes, except we kind of don't. And I'll talk about that a bit more later because it's all very new here at the moment. But even though we have 11-inch and 13-inch, they don't seem to use the same Magic keyboards. Probably to do with sizes of bezels and things. If you know more about that than I do, let me know. Magic Keyboard, landscape stereo audio, which is actually kind of important. If you've ever been watching a movie or like I do, I sit outside with my wife and I have my iPad up there and I watch, we just watch music clips on YouTube. And the audio is pretty good, but it's not stereo in landscape mode. So having stereo landscape mode audio, pretty good. 3 times faster than the iPad Air with the A12 Bionic chip, which is like 3 Airs ago. I mean, I get it. You can compare your stuff to make it look good, but yeah, 50% faster than the M1 chip. So that's the one to look at, that it's a bit faster than M1, much faster than that. Wi-Fi 6 LE Touch ID on that sucker, and the Liquid Retina display, which is the same one as the other one. Yeah, it is a bit strange, as Thomas said. It does look like there's some cracks in there, but no, they're not cracks. They're smooth indentations as opposed to cracks, I think, maybe. So that is your iPad Air, and that's everything you need to know, except for this. How much is it going to cost me, John? It's $5.99 for 11-inch, $7.99 for 13-inch, and you can order those right now. We're gonna mock order some at the end of the show, and you can get them next week. They're available on the 15th of May, shipping in 1 week's time, and I'm sure they'll be all over all of the Apple stores as well. Let me check my notes before we move on, make sure I've talked about everything. Yeah, they talked AI. So I've got some quotes here. It's a powerful device for AI. They then did mention machine learning, and they talked about the accessories that we have there as well, the colors, the speakers. Yeah, and the displays are the same across both sizes, so no differences in displays apart from the size. Let's now, you and I, walk through this, the iPad Pro. It's always black, always darkness. Whenever we start talking about the iPad Pro, the first thing they said about the iPad Pro basically was how thin. They said impossibly thin. Well, it exists, so not really. Incredibly powerful, and a magical sheet of glass. See, this is why you come here. A magical sheet of glass. Look at it, kind of is. I've called it close to that before, but it is pretty cool. 5.3 millimeters thin and 5.1 millimeters thin for the bigger one. The bigger one is thinner. Go figure. Don't really know how that works or what the deal is there, but yes, they are both very thin indeed. Both lighter apparently, which is good to hear, because the old iPads were kind of chungus. They were a bit heavy, so getting them lighter is good. The display is what they're calling a tandem OLED, which is a little misleading. It's not two. It's not the first flip phone style. We don't get two screens, but there are basically two OLEDs layered. It's layer upon layer on top of each other, which create what they call the XDR Precision, or the Ultra Retina XDR. And you get the same screen on both sizes. So unlike some previous iPads where the bigger one had the better screen, it's the same. You also get a nano texture glass option. In fact, let's move on to the next screen, because this has all the details. We get M4 in this sucker. That was the big surprise. But let's put the screen of goodness up here to show you. This is the M4 screen of goodness that has all of the stuff about the M4. If you're a giant chip nerd and you want to know all the details, hit pause now. I'll give you a sec. All right, and the rest of us will move on, because that's not the page we want to look at. The page we want to look at is this one. This has got all of your details. So we've talked about a few of these already. 11-inch and 13-inch screen, up to 2 terabytes of storage. So same storage options as previously, 256 up to 2 terabytes. That nano texture glass is available on the 2 highest models. So the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte 13-inch models is the nano texture glass, which is like what I don't use it, because I'm not a video or an image guy, but apparently it is better for viewing, of color correction and all that stuff that I vaguely understand, but don't really. You got the M4 chip in there. You got the adaptive True Tone flash. They showed a little bit of that with the camera. I'll show you that in a sec. Our LiDAR scanner, as we've had before. Face ID, of course. ProRes. You got the Apple Pencil Pro. We'll talk to that in a moment. Landscape, 12 megapixel front camera, same as we have on the new Air. 5G, Ultra Retina XDR, ProMotion, the Magic Keyboard support. You got that 4-speaker audio. So the audio in this is going to be pretty good for just an iPad audio. And you got Thunderbolt. So if people have been asking me, what's the difference? And we'll talk about this more later, but what's the difference between the Pro and the Air? Why would I buy the Pro when the Air looks very similar apart from the screen? Couple of reasons. Thunderbolt. So you've got a Thunderbolt port there, so you can hook up higher capacity drives and the like, anything that needs a faster connection. Thunderbolt is faster than USB-C. And the RAM. So your memory on this, on the larger models, is 16 gigabytes. Your iPad Air has 8 gigabytes across all of its models. So you get more performance, you get a different screen, and you get more storage options, as well as that Thunderbolt port. So they're the main differences between your Pro and your Air. Interestingly, I thought this was very interesting. I had to check my current M2 iPad and make sure that I wasn't hallucinating, that they've removed a camera. Is this the first time that we've had less talk of the camera and a lesser camera? I actually think this is fine because I thought it was wacky when we had two separate cameras on the back of the iPad. Because if you remember last, the M2 one, they talked about, people shooting professional videos with the iPad Pro, the M2, and that's why they had the two cameras on there. I think they've seen the sense here and gone, no, people are going to be doing this. And it kind of ties in with something I'll tell you about a bit later, which is the new Final Cut Pro that has a cool feature where you can use your iPhone with its superior cameras. Mine has crud on it. That's less than ideal. I think I have chocolate on my camera lens. Children. But yeah, you can use your phone as the camera and then feed that straight into Final Cut Pro on your iPad, which will be a cool feature and hopefully one that is backwards compatible for all of us folks that are running older ones. I thought this was kind of cool too. It uses the flash and the LiDAR scanner and the camera to create a document scanner. Anyone else a giant nerd and scans? Like every time a piece of paper comes into my house, I cannot tolerate paper. I scan it, I PDF it, and I put it into a digital file because I don't like paper. Just me? Okay, good. Let's talk pricing. Well, storage. So as I said, 256, 64, 512, 1 terabyte. 2 terabyte. And pricing, how much are you going to pay for these? Oh, I'm glad you asked. $9.99 for the 11-inch and from $12.99 for the 13-inch. And we will, of course, as we always do, max one out. See how much we can spend. Let's get the 2 terabyte with the nano-textured glass and all the bells and whistles, shall we? We'll do that at the end of the show. Hello to folks. We've got Princess LDG. I'm going to have a quick drink while I say good day to folks. Hello to Princess. Hello, Jade Star. I almost think they should have had the front camera as the better one. Exactly, right? Which I think they are. I'm pretty sure they're both 12 megapixel. We'll do some comparison at the end. The fancy words, they're kind of fun. They're a little bit fun. G'day, Gary. Gary was one of the commenters on my original video that I just put out there this morning. Well, this evening maybe. Asa BT, g'day to you. Hello to Nestor6. G'day to everybody. And yeah, if you are enjoying my little breakdown here, you're getting some value. Thumbs up because the sun's up. It is here at least anyway because it's 9:30 in the morning. I've been up for a while. It's been a while. All right. Yeah, let's move on because we heard from Will, the product manager for creative apps. And I must admit, what's a nice way to put this? I may have weed a little. I was going to classy it up, but I'm not going to. I may have squeed. Is that what the kids say these days? When I saw that Will, the product manager for creative apps, was here, I'm just like, Final Cut Pro? Logic Pro? Have we got something? And it was kind of like at the very start of it, they showed this image of all these musical instruments being like smushed in a giant compressor and turning into an iPad Pro. So I'm like, ooh, do we have something for us creative folks? It's pretty cool. Yeah, a nice rock wall, right? Yeah, cool rock wall going on there, bro. So yes, let's not bury the lead any further. Brand new Final Cut Pro here. We've got that camera feature that I talked about before, which we'll talk a bit more in a moment. And then he moved into the studio to reveal a new version of Logic Pro. Yeah, Logic Pro 2, just a year after the original Logic Pro 1, after we had a pretty substantial 1.1 update. I mean, if I, in my best hopes leading into this event, I would have said 1.2. Like maybe a whole point upgrade. I'm a GarageBand guy from way back. We're at GarageBand 2.4.27 or something. They do these tiny incremental updates. Apparently Logic Pro, they're like, nah, let's go all in on this sucker. So the new Logic Pro, let me check my notes on this stuff. We'll go back a little bit because I don't want to miss the Final Cut stuff for folks that are into the video editing. I use LumaFusion still for my video editing, so I'm not actually using Final Cut Pro much right now. But there's a few features here that might make me change my mind on that. So the rendering up to 2 times faster than M1. Again, comparing to 2 models ago, but that's okay. Live multicam, that's pretty cool. So that's what I was talking about before, that you can grab your iPhone and multiple iPhones and actually have them feed directly in to Final Cut. For someone like me, what I do at the moment is if I'm out shooting, I'll shoot on my iPhone and then I have to come back and because I use my iPad for editing, I have to airdrop all my footage over to my iPad. I have to pull it into LumaFusion and then I start editing. With this, if I could just have that as my camera, even right now, instead of a webcam, I could just have my phone sitting up there and capturing straight into Final Cut Pro, and then I just start editing. That could be a game changer for me. So that's a cool thing. If that comes to Final Cut Pro and it works as advertised for multicam, could be cool. You could have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. I could get really obnoxious and do that switching thing like they do on late night shows, or maybe not. All right, let's move past that and come into this. So, what do we got new in Logic Pro for iPad 2? See, I'm a rhymer, and I didn't even. No. All right, so we got this. We got some updates. We got session player updates. So as well as the drummer getting apparently an updated boost, we have now a bass player and a keys player. So this is kind of a bit cool for those like me who loved music memos that had that built-in bass player that you'd play in and it would play along with you. Yeah, session players. And like there's things like Session Band and things that I've used, and there's a Scaler which can do these sorts of things. But to have it built right in there to Logic Pro for iPad, I think might be a game changer. Like I said, I was super sad when we lost the bass and drum functionality through Music Memos that did the sort of automatic backing, and that was like 10 years ago. So to have this looks pretty darn cool. There's also this, which is the Chroma Glow plugin, which is apparently uses AI to emulate like outboard gear. So it's like more like a one dial compressor that you can throw on your tracks to make them sound more sort of studio sounding. Hey, I'm in for that. I'm all about simplicity. If I can dial up one knob and it makes it sound cool, as opposed to needing to know how to dial everything in, yeah, sign me up. And we've got stem splitter coming as well, which is something that I know Jade Star's covered on her channel. I've covered some options you have. There's online things you can do on websites. There's apps that do this already. There's different algorithms. This is Apple, so we shall see. Is it going to surpass those other options and algorithms? So one thing to keep in mind there, that if you look in the weeds, if you look in the fine print of that, you do need at least the M1 iPads to use the stem splitter and to use Chroma Glow, and it said that it is recommended for the session player. So I think it sounds like session player is going to work on your older A series iPads, but it might not be quite as quick to do all the quick changes and computations that it will on the M series as well. Yeah, as Mark says, a hybrid between music memos and easy bass, easy keys, easy drummer. And I must admit, it's one thing that I've missed. Coming from, I started on a PC, and I used to love like addictive drums and addictive keys. I used them a lot because they could help you not only in sort of the final process, but even more so in the demo writing. I think this might be great for songwriters where if you're not a keys player and you're not a drummer and you're not a bass player, but maybe you play acoustic guitar and sing, hello, this could kind of be your jam. So I'm looking forward to playing around with that. And of course, stay subscribed to the channel because we covered Logic Pro 1 and 1.1 in detail, and we'll definitely be all over Logic Pro 2. I keep saying 2.0. That's me being old school. I don't think people say 2.0 anymore. Remember when 2.0, when it was like the web 2.0? I think I'm still stuck in that world. So I need to stop saying web. I need to stop saying Logic Pro 2.0. But it rhymes, and I like things that rhyme. All right, should we talk about hardware? Yeah, let's do that. Al says, imagine splitting the stems and getting the automated players to copy bass and drum styles. Wow, that's a brilliant use case. Can you imagine that? That's cool. So yeah, you could kind of do a hybrid thing. Don't tell anyone, but you could kind of do a hybrid thing. You bring in, let's say you bring in a tool track, you isolate the tool drum stems, and then you tell drummer to follow the drum stem of the tool drummer, or you bring in, what's everyone's favorite? Rush. Can you imagine bringing a Rush track in? I don't know. I don't know if you could handle the time sync changes. Oh man, fun times. Fun times ahead regardless, because it's always fun to try out new things as well. Yes, and again, wasn't mentioned in the announcement, but if you read the weeds, if you dive into the updates and the details and the press releases and things, Logic Pro 11. Yes, we're finally not going to be confused by half of the people calling it X and half people calling it 10. We're just going to be 11. Will people call it XI? Oh, well, yeah, I'm just going to fire up Logic Pro XI. And by the way, it looks like these will be updates. So for both Logic on Mac, if you've bought it, you'll get 11, so you don't have to rebuy it. And if you're subscribed to Logic Pro 1.1, it looks like you'll get updated to Logic Pro 2.0 when it is released, which I'm sure there'll be more info coming in the coming days. And keep your YouTube dial tuned to Studio Live today, because I'll be talking about it as things are revealed and released. Let us talk about the new Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro. That was weird. I went a little bit Uncle Arthur there for my Australian friends. Magic Keyboard, we have a new one. And it looks like this. It is also thinner and lighter and looks very professional. What do we have? What's the differences here? Well, we finally have this. And as I look down at my keyboard, I use this keyboard, which is the Apple wireless keyboard. And I actually like the function keys at the top. I know that not everyone is always changing things around, but for me, I'm always reaching up to change my volume up there. And I know there's shortcuts and things that you can use. I'm always reaching up to adjust brightness. I'm always finding myself reaching. And now if I have this, which I may in the future, not on my current iPad because it's only compatible with the new iPad, then you do get the function keys. The touchpad has been improved and increased in size, which is a cool thing, because if like me, you use this one, the older Magic Keyboard, you'd be aware that the touchpad is pretty small there. In fact, let's give you a quick size comparison, because with this sort of stuff, size does matter. So if I compare this trackpad to the size of the Magic trackpad that I use for my Mac, yeah, check it. It's 2.5. It's like a 2.5x. So having that extra surface is definitely going to be a good thing for users of the trackpad. I tend to use a mouse quite a bit, but I know many people love the trackpad. So a bigger trackpad cannot necessarily be a bad thing. There's your pricing on that one, $299 for the 11-inch, $349 for the 13-inch, or a second mortgage if you're here in Australia. No, not quite, but I think we'll find out. I think it's $4.99 and $5.99. I don't know. I remember crying when I bought my Magic Keyboard for my old 11-inch iPad Pro, and it was, like $500 at the time. So, yeah. Should we talk pencils? Yeah. The Apple Pencil. So if you looked at the logo for this whole event, you would have seen the hand with the pencil and the drawing and thought, hey, this has got to be about iPads. There's got to be some sort of pencil-related or pencil-adjacent announcement going on with this one. Well, yes, there absolutely was. It's the Apple Pencil Pro. Yes, no surprises or awards for the naming convention there. The Apple Pencil Pro. What does the Apple Pencil Pro do, you may say? Well, it's kind of revolutionized everything, because it now has squeeze and rotation and what they call double tap, barrel roll, and squeeze. So it means you can use a double tap as opposed to a single tap to do different things. You can roll it, and that can get sort of different surfaces. So you imagine like you're using a pen or a brush or something. I'm not an artist, so I don't really know. You can actually get different angles, and therefore it will change up based on that. And you can squeeze it to make different things happen. And what they've said is that developers can create their own custom interactions as well. I'm kind of interested to see, will this be anything for music creators? Is there going to be use for this? I don't know. If you tap on a knob, can you like twist it and turn the dial? So pretend that you're using your Apple Pencil and you're like twisting it in your finger, or squeezing and releasing to, like, I don't know, automate? I can't really think of it. So clearly the Apple Pencil is more for your artistic folks, more for your designers, your video editors, your image editor stuff. But you can dream, can't we? Maybe there's going to be something cool that we can do with our Logic Pros. We can dream. So what else do we have here? It is compatible with the iPad Air and the brand new iPad, and that's it. And we'll talk about that in a bit, because disappointing a little bit, but there it is. double tap, barrel roll, squeeze. Oh, it's got Find My, so it actually has the chip in there. What do they call that? The A chip? No, there's something. They call it a certain name, but you can actually find it with that. You can charge it straight on your device, just like before. And yeah, it's got all of those features there. Pixel perfect precision, low latency, pressure sensitivity, and tilt sensitivity as well. Barrel roll. Yes, I know. Barrel roll was funny, wasn't it, Tom? I like it. Yep, exactly. Yeah, pencil in 3D. And there were rumors going in that the pencil, the fact that it would be like this, means that people could use it in the air with their Vision Pro, like they could hold it. And there was kind of some memes of people holding them like chopsticks and like using them in midair. Maybe not so much, but you never know. I'm sure someone will find some way to use it in creative ways. $129, same deal. You can order it now. You can have it in a week. A couple of final little announcements. The iPad is now from $349. So that was, I believe, $429, and this was $329 for the Gen 9. This is the Gen 10 iPad, so they've reduced the cost, the entry cost of the Gen 10, because they're discontinuing the Gen 9, which is what I said up front. Removing all the iPads with Lightning. All iPads are now USB-C and or Thunderbolt. And the Mini, here's what they said about the Mini. Yeah, nothing. No, Tim Cook at the very end said, and the Mini also exists. All right, off you go. Bye. So, yeah, no update for the poor old Mini, but which is weird because a lot of people I've spoken to and a lot of people I've seen on podcasts and on shows lately, on YouTubes and everywhere, have been talking about how much they love the Mini, and that maybe they've got a Pro, but maybe they love their Mini more because it's just, chuck it in your bag, have it with you all the time. And I get it. But I guess because phones are so big now, I don't really see the need. When your phone's 6.7 inches, why do you want an 8.3-inch iPad mini? It's not actually that much bigger. But maybe you love the Mini. Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you are a Mini fan or a fan of Minis. Yep, everything can be ordered today. Everything's available next week. And as a famous movie character said, that's all I got to say about that. So there you go. There's your 25-minute deep dive. We're right on track here. That is a good thing. So we are going to open it up. We have some Q&A time. So if you do have any questions, you can throw those here in the chat. Hopefully I've answered any or preemptively answered any questions that you may have had. But I'm just going to scroll through here. We did have one question there. If anyone else has a question, drop it now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. No, you can ask it later. Question here from Al Davis Music. Do you think that GarageBand is on the back burner now that Logic 2.0 is imminent? There hasn't been any significant updates in ages. Yes, is my short answer to this. So I think that Apple have everything in GarageBand that they're going to put in GarageBand. So I think the likelihood of getting new revolutionary features in GarageBand is pretty low, because it really is at the level where you can create great music in it. It has everything you need. You've got automation, you've got AUV3 plugins and effects. You can do what you need to do. You've got the autoplay on your instruments. You've got all the different touch instruments. You can hook up your MIDI keyboards and your audio interfaces. You can use external instruments. So I think that to maintain, and you could be cynical on this and say to maintain a gap between GarageBand and Logic Pro, they're not going to update GarageBand. But I really do think that your point is more to the point, that they're going to put their efforts into adding features to Logic Pro for iPad, because they know that people that are going to be using more modern iPads with M series chips are probably going to want the power of something like Logic Pro, and GarageBand is more for folks using a regular iPad. I mean, I'm the exception that proves the rule, because I love GarageBand and I have a higher end iPad at the moment. But hey, that could change in the future, and I'll definitely be checking out Logic Pro. I think, here's the weird thing, I think those session players would have been great for GarageBand, because I think that's what GarageBand users are looking for. Logic Pro users are probably more likely to be collaborating with people playing bass or playing keys, or maybe they've already got systems in place, or they're using external apps. But I think, yeah, Apple probably weren't going to open that up for GarageBand. What would have been cool is if they did like Session Players Lite for GarageBand, like a cut down version of it, and then did the full version in Logic Pro. I think that might have been cool, just to give us something, give something for the GarageBand users. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one though. There you go. I know, that's the problem. Not on iPhone. Logic is cool, but not on iPhone. Question from Thomas. Did you also get the sense that Multicam addition to Final Cut Pro, the app that Apple might start selling standalone Apple cameras soon? That's a really interesting one, isn't it, Thomas? Because they have been talking about this a lot. And in fact, I didn't put it in the presentation, but I snapped right at the end that it said, what does it say? I'll find my image because I put it on my iPad here. I was watching on my iPad while taking notes on my iPhone as well as my my laptop this morning. It was a whole production. But at the very end, it said shot on iPhone, edited on Mac and iPad. So it said edited on Mac, and then it sort of went zoop and iPad. So yeah, they're really pushing this whole shot on iPhone thing. If you looked at the last presentation, the last event, as well as this event, there's a lot of focus on the whole shot on iPhone thing. Are we going to get to the point? Here's the thing. The iPhone is basically a camera anyway. So are they going to produce something that is just the camera part of this? You still need a screen. You still need the processor. You definitely need the cameras. All you really don't need, like all an Apple camera would be, is basically an iPod Touch, wouldn't it? It would be an iPhone without the phone. So yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because would they save much by doing that? Or would they just say, you know what, you just buy an iPhone Pro, you don't bother putting a SIM card in it and just use it standalone, which could be the future. But yeah, judging by the images that they showed, judging by the images they showed of the production of what the event was, so things like, I have it back here in my presentation, you would have seen it pop up. So I think they're going to do more things like this, where they've got gimbals and they've got tripods and things, and people are using these to just hold their iPhones. Me, I get very scared, because a lot of these things you need to take the iPhone out of its case, and every time, even just using a very simple little holder, every time I'm putting a $2,000 piece of glass into a holder and then propping it precariously somewhere, I get a little bit worried. Of course, they're probably using much higher end gear that is not going to have it balance precariously. But yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? The Apple camera. Yeah, would we go full circle and go back to that? Yeah, exactly. They do want you to have multiple iPhone cameras available for multicam. It's true. It's true. And they want you to return your old iPhones. Yeah, maybe your iPhone. Yeah, exactly. Older iPhones are basically just like iPod Touches anyway, aren't they? Exactly. My wife's old iPhone SE will probably become that for me, Mark, as well. We'll have a quick drink. Any final questions before we go shopping? All right. If they make an iCamera, a dedicated camera, that would interest me. Yeah. Well, look, that's the thing. But what would they do? Like, because at the moment, the phone kind of competes with mirrorless and DSLR stuff, but not really. If you were would they make a mirrorless or a DSLR that's an Apple camera, or would they just make a version of theirs? Would they do more like a GoPro style or a portable camera? Like, that could be interesting. The iCamera could be a smaller form factor that's just a little cube that you have, like similar to the little GoPro style. I don't know. Be interesting. Some new guitar. I know, when I saw session players, and I'm just like, session players, bass, keys, drums. Oh, where's guitars? I want Kendrick to be shredding on guitar for me. Although they've removed the names, haven't they? They don't have the fun names anymore. They're just like rock drummer, roots drummer. Oh, they do. No, they do. They have the names, don't they? I can't remember. Haven't used Logic Pro in a while. I need to get back into it. Yeah, or more like the 360. Yeah, it's more like GoPros, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go. All right, let's close down the presentation and let's go shopping. So the first thing that I did here before we shop iPad, which we will do soon. Did anyone find it weird when you go shop iPad, like shop the sale, shop iPad, shop thing? Should it be shop for? Like, where's that joining words gone? Let's shop iPad. Let's shop all models. Let's shop the sale. No, let's shop for it. We don't. Anyway. So we're going to use the comparison. If you don't know where the comparison is, in fact, let's show you how you can do this at home, because it's pretty simple and it's what I do. The second new stuff comes out, I use the comparison. So new iPads are out. Let's go with the compare. So right here in the middle, you go to compare here on apple.com. If it works, there you go. And we can compare iPad models. So it has loaded up here the iPad Pro 13-inch M4, the iPad Air 13-inch M2, and the iPad 10th generation, which are the three current players. I'm actually going to replace this, for reasons I'll show in a minute, with the iPad 12.9-inch 6th generation, which is the M2 model of iPad. So I want to compare the brand new Apple iPad Pro, the Apple iPad Air M2, and the Apple iPad 12.9-inch 6th generation with M2. First thing you'll see there is, yeah, look, you've only got doesn't have two cameras still. Or no, one of those is the LiDAR sensor and one of those is the flash, I think. Whereas this definitely has two dedicated cameras. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Let's find out. Let's scroll down, because this is cool. We can come down here. So this one's no longer available, which is why there's no prices. This has the pricing, which we've already been through there, and that's what they're going to cost, because that's the 12 or the 13-inch. It's going to be hard to get used to saying 13-inch instead of 12.9-inch. So there's the differences. You've got the Ultra Retina versus the Liquid Retina versus the Liquid Retina XDR. So you still don't get the XDR display on the Air like you do on the last Pro, but it's similar because you get all the same sort of things, the anti-reflective coating. And here's what I was saying before about the nano texture display, only on the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models. There's your chip. Let's pause on that one if you like your chips while I have a drink. You got your M4 chip, up to 10-core CPU and a 10-core GPU, 16-core neural engine. Your M2 chip on your iPad Air has the 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine. And the old M2 chip had the 8-core, 10-core, and 16-core. So interesting that the M4 is up to 10-core. So I'm assuming that means that there is a difference in the processor depending on the size or maybe the storage that you get. We'll have a look at that in a moment. So what do we have? We have a 12-megapixel wide camera. Yeah, 12 megapixel wide camera and a 10 megapixel. Yeah, so there you go. I was right. We don't have a second camera. So we no longer have the ultra wide camera, which I used exactly 0 times on this current iPad, have in the past and will in the future. So not a big loss. Same deal, 4K video, and there you go. The front facing camera is now where it always should have been, right there in the middle, as opposed to on the top, so that you can use it in your landscape mode. There's that port difference we talked about before. USB-C connector with Thunderbolt support. USB-C connector and Thunderbolt support. So your Air is still not going to be Thunderbolt. So that's why the Pro is definitely better for folks doing a lot of video work. If you're hooking up external SSDs that use Thunderbolt, you will want the Pro, because the speeds on USB-C will not be super fast and you won't be able to do things like use them for extra. Oh, I didn't mention that, but Final Cut Pro will now finally have the ability to edit on an external drive, which LumaFusion's had for some time. Face ID versus the Top ID button. There's your speakers, which, yeah, for what they're worth, you get the 4-speaker versus the 2-speaker, 4 microphones versus 2 microphones. Look at that, interestingly, we've lost a microphone. The old one had the 5 studio quality microphones. The new one has 4 studio quality microphones. They've all got Wi-Fi 6E on board. They've all got 5G cellular. Now, here's our accessory support. This is where things get interesting. So remember that weird Apple Pencil USB-C that they released last year? That's available on everything, right? Because they all have USB-C ports, so you can charge anything via any of them because they have the USB-C port. But here's the thing. The Apple Pencils that use the magnetic charger that stick to the top, so if you've got an iPad, you'd be aware of this, but you charge your pencil by sticking it on the top like that, and when you pop it on, it automatically magnetically connects and it starts charging and connecting to your device. That's the same case with the new ones, the Apple Pencil Pro, but that's only supported on the new iPad and iPad Air. It's not supported on the M2 or the M1 iPad Pro. And they weren't specific about this, but digging into the weeds, the reason seems to be that landscape camera. They had to change the charging surface, because the way the old one worked is it had a charging surface that went straight across the top, And now, because you got that camera there, it kind of is interfering with that whole thing. So I'm assuming they've kind of had to shove the charging points to the side, and that lack of charging means it won't work there. Because otherwise, why would it work on the M2 Air but not the M2 last generation Pro? Can't be to do with the machine learning or the AI, because they're running the same chip with the same amount of memory. However, that charging location and the movement of the camera, just my hunch, maybe right, maybe wrong, but that's why I think the new pencil is not compatible, which is kind of sad, because for those of us that have the M2 iPad Pro, although mine's still on loan from Apple at this stage, yeah, we can't use that new Apple Pencil. So yeah, interesting stuff. I'm sure that'll get some coverage as well. Keyboard's kind of the same sort of weirdness. So the Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro M4 is the one that has that line, that row of function keys. That's only available for the new iPad Pro M4. The old Magic Keyboard, which you can use with the old iPad, you can use with the iPad Air now. So I think the reason that they've consolidated those sizes to 11-inch and 13-inch is that now aligns it with the old 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So you can actually use the Magic Keyboard for those. That's, again, my hunch. It's day one, so we might find out more things, but I think that's what it's doing there. And the reason that they might be the same size is due to usually bezel sizes. So the iPad Air, they've probably designed it to make sure it clonks into that old Magic Keyboard case, but you cannot use the M4 keyboard case. Capacity, we've got 256 up to, 2 terabytes? We've got 128 up to 1 terabyte on the Air, and on your older one, it started at 128. I told nobody to ever buy that. 128 gigabytes on an M2 iPad Pro was just a losing proposition. 512 is kind of where it starts, 256 if you really have to, but please, yeah, I know, look, budget, but what you can afford. So here is the sizes. This could tell us a little bit about this. Yeah, so you can see there, the height and the width is exactly the same between the Air 13-inch M2 and the 12.9-inch 6th generation iPad Pro. So despite the screen size being different, it's actually the same, because the bezels must be just that little bit thinner to allow for the 0.1 inches of additional screen size. Looking at weight's pretty interesting there. So you can see that these are definitely a lot less weighty. So 579 grams compared to 682 grams. So 100 grams, like a decent sized Cadbury block difference, because I measure all weight in bars of chocolate. I'm like the Willy Wonka of tech. That's how I roll. Your displays, you can look at this in more detail on your own time, but you've got that tandem OLED versus LED versus mini LED. So the different screens are definitely something that you'll want to consider. And that nano texture that you can only get on the 1 and 2 terabyte models. There's your chips. All right, 9-core CPU. Okay, so here's where that chip difference is. 9-core CPU on the 256 and 512 gig, and the 10-core CPU must be on the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte versions, and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Models with that? Okay. So 8 gigabytes of RAM for the models that have the 9-core CPU, and then the 10-core CPU with the extra performance core is only available on the larger devices, and you get 16 gigabytes of RAM. So you're still going to have two different configurations. So if you go the 256 or the 512, you get one less CPU core, you get one less performance core. You still get the 10-core GPU and everything else, but you also only get 8 gigabytes of RAM. As soon as you go to 2 terabytes or 1 terabyte of storage, you get that extra CPU and performance core, and you get the 16 gigabytes of RAM. And the way they usually do that is it's the exact same chip, but they put them through a test process, and if they're not 100% perfect, what they can do, don't know if they've done this with this, they disable one of those cores just to put it into the cheaper one. Doesn't mean it's faulty, it just means that it maybe hit 99% of spec, and then they put it in the smaller one. Hello, Tom and Co. Thank you for being here. Late to the party, absolutely. It's all good. You can catch up on the replay if you desire. Power and battery is all pretty similar across those. You got the Apple Pencil support there, which we already talked about, the Pencil Pro and the Pencil USB. You got your keyboard support there, which we've already talked about. We talked a little bit about cameras, and the rest of this is kind of all just filling. Only the one camera is pretty interesting. The reduction. Did you notice that Apple didn't say, and we've removed a camera? We found that users told us that 2 cameras was just too cumbersome. So we've removed one of the cameras to provide a slicker, more efficient experience. Weirdly, they probably did to make it thinner. I don't doubt that, because the old one did have quite a protrusion. So to have those 2 cameras, they both kind of stick out a little bit. And if you look at the new one, it's almost flush. So I think people said to them, we don't like the sticky outy bits. We would like it flush, please. And they said, yes, we will make it flush. All right. Yeah, I reckon that's all we need to show. Let's go back to the top, all the way to the top. And yeah, so there they are. And it's okay, still does have a little sticky outy bit, but it's probably not as protrudent as the old one. Yeah, there. Okay, so it still does have a little sticky outy. Notice that they don't measure it with the sticky outy. They only measure it with that part. So I don't know. I'd say maybe 6 millimeters if you count that, or maybe 7. But yeah, should we go shopping? Let's order one. Let's buy ourselves some iPads, shall we? Why not? So iPad Pro, so you can order it now, and it's available starting on the 15th of the 5th or the 5th of the 15th if you like to use the backwards dates. Let's spec one out to the max, 13-inch model. Now, here's the other difference. I haven't mentioned it yet, but space grey has become space black, because colours. So the 2 terabyte model is from $22.99, or you can use your different financing options there. So the difference between the nano textured glass and the standard glass is only $100. That's not too bad. I thought that would be more. So yeah, nano textured glass, let's go with it. Wi-Fi and cellular. Look, I normally do the cellular, but let's be honest, who doesn't have a phone that they tether to? Does anyone use a cellular iPad and actually has a separate SIM card and pays a separate monthly fee for data on their iPad? I've never done it. I just can't bring myself to it. It's so easy to tether to my phone that has a giant pile of data, and I've always got my phone with me. I never I'm just going to use my iPad, but with its own cellular connection. No. So Wi-Fi all the way. We don't need no engraving. No. Don't ever engrave your stuff, folks. Unless you're sending as a gift or you're really sentimental. If you engrave your stuff, it basically destroys the resale value. If you say, happy birthday, Cynthia, love from Dave, then no one except another Cynthia who happens to have a Dave that's in love with them is probably going to buy it. Or they're going to buy it for substantially less. Or make you scratch it off. The Apple Pencil Pro, $129. You can get that engraved too, don't do it. All right, saved. The keyboard, so you can add that Magic Keyboard Pro for $349 in English and in black. I wonder if there's anyone that would order the black one with the white keyboard. Maybe. We'll save that one in. We don't have anything to trade in. Don't forget you can trade in and recycle your old Apple gear if you would like to. So always check that out. Even if you, just don't put it in landfill. Either sell it or trade it in. Get it recycled. So there you go, 2877. It's not actually as drastic as I had thought. Not cheap by any stretch. All right, buy. There we go. So we'll buy it. There, Apple Care's $169. If you wanted to add that, yeah, let's add it because that's reasonable. If you're buying a $3,000, you'd probably do that. Which Apple Care Plus would you like? Yeah, I'll pay it all up front. So $3,000. So you tip just over $3K for the absolute latest. Ships 4 to 5 weeks. That's interesting. So this is where you get the realistic stuff. So you get your Apple... That would be a bit sad, wouldn't it? You get your Apple Pencil on the 15th of May. You get your Magic Keyboard. You're like, me Apple delivery. She's here. Oh, it's the accessories and not the iPad. So you got nothing to plug them into. So that's interesting. So we'll do a couple of other configs just to see what the wait times will be, but that will vary obviously depending on the configuration you put together and where you are in the world. In fact, why don't I freak you out and we go to Australia and you see exactly how much we pay for this stuff. So let's go to apple.com.au and we'll tell it we're in Oz. Is it gonna do the right thing for us? We buy it, or do we have to change it up somewhere? There we go. iPad. That's regular iPad. We want to go to iPad, and we want to go to iPad Pro. In fact, let's buy an Air. Let's pretend we're buying the Air and maxing that sucker out. Let's see what that's going to be, and you'll get surprised by how much we pay in Australia. We also put our dates around the other way, the right way. All right, 13-inch model. Let's go with the purple because that looks funky. Let's add a terabyte. Let's go with Wi-Fi. No engraving. Let's add the Apple Pencil. So 219 Australian for that Apple Pencil. So you can see we pay a fair bit more. And yeah, I've got to save that in. As I suspected, the Magic Keyboard, $579 in US English. Let's make it a white one this time. That's just the regular Apple keyboard, Magic Keyboard, that is. No trade-in. All right, so we would be paying, where was it? Where's our final price? $2,977. So yeah, around about $3,000 for the iPad Air, and that spec'd out $3,000 would be about $4,000 for a dollars for a spec'd out iPad. And what do you get in the box? Not a lot. You get your thing, you get your charge cable, you get an adapter. So unlike your iPhones, you still do get an adapter. With your iPads, when you buy them, and we can pick it up. We can pick it up on the 15th, this one. Ships 14th of May. Huh. There you go. Let's just do a, let's see if you should move to Australia if you want to buy an iPad Pro. Let's just see if I ordered that same spec'd out iPad Pro. In fact, let's go a lower model. Let's say we wanted the 512 gig model with the standard glass, because we can only get that. Because you can do this. You can see like how long it will take for each different one. We just won't go the keyboard and the mouse for this. No trade in. $249, and when's it delivered? Yeah, ships 14th of May, and order now. So we actually get it even earlier because it'll ship a day earlier because we live here in the future. So it'll ship on the 14th of May, or I can order it and go pick it up at the Apple Store in Rundle Place, which is my local Apple Store, on the 15th. What about the spec'd out version? Do we get that any cheaper? Folks, you may need to move to Australia. You'll pay more, but apparently you get things quicker. We have more stock of things over here. It might be that nano texture glass, actually. That might have been the difference. So we'll go with this. What is that going to do to our time? Ships, nope, currently unavailable. So it'll still ship if we get that nano texture glass version on the 14th of May. So we have them in stock here in Australia. There you go. But you're going to pay $4,000 instead of $3,000. But it's Australian dollars, so it all kind of comes out. So yeah, so they don't have any of them in stock here in my local Apple Store, and your mileage is definitely going to vary. Did you enjoy the shopping trip? We might as well live in a little fantasy land, hey? So we're coming up to the end of the hour, which is the time we allotted for this special edition of GarageBand Weekly. Hello to and folk that have joined us here, to Robert Redmond's Clip channel. G'day, Princess LDG, if I didn't say hello to you. If you did have fun living in a fantasy land for a little while, hit the thumbs up button. The last thing I like to say on all this sort of stuff is when this new stuff comes out, first of all, you don't need all this stuff. Use what you have right now to create. Don't sit there having FOMO thinking if I don't have the latest Apple iPad Pro with M4, I'm missing out and I can no longer create. No, create with what you got right now. You don't need all this stuff. This is all lovely and shiny. Go to the Apple Store and have a play with it. Live in a fantasy land for a little while, but then get back and get to work and make music and create, because yeah, you don't need the latest and greatest all the time. And very few of us can afford to keep up with all these updates and the latest and greatest. So don't have FOMO, have what I like to call Joji. So instead of the fear of missing out, have the joy of joining in. I think I'm going to make a t-shirt that says Joji, joy of joining in, as opposed to fear of missing out. Because just join in. You don't have to fear missing out if you just do it. Just get into it. The other thing I like to mention is the older stuff is going on sale. Yep, Mark's all there. The older stuff always goes on sale. People will start offloading their M1 and M2 iPads right now, ready for this. They're older iPad Airs, so it is a great time to check out some secondhand gear, you can go to my gear guide, studiolivetoday.com/gear. If you're going to buy on Amazon or eBay, I would love for you to go through there. Those are affiliate links. If you use those and you click through, they will break off a small chunk of any purchases you make and send it my way. So yeah, I do try and make these things fun, but a little bit lighter and a little bit more just to the point. That's why the opening 5 minutes, for those that just wanted to watch that, will get, here's all the stuff. I know it's the opposite of the YouTube rules. When you're on YouTube, you're supposed to do it the other way. You're supposed to make people wait and have as much watch time as possible. I don't got time for that. I have too much respect for you. Yeah, we're going to go with Joji. The joy of joining in. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, go and check out all of my links and all of my recommendations for all the gear. And yeah, again, you can jump onto Amazon. That's a good place to buy. eBay's a good place to buy. Apple directly. Don't buy from websites that you've never heard of or that the deal looks too good to be true, because it probably is. Yeah, Wish.com is not going to be selling the old iPads. They are knockoffs that are not real. So please, neither is Cheyenne, or I don't even know the names of them anymore, AliExpress, all those places. No. Buy from reputable places that have a good return and refund policy. Can't stress that enough. Yeah, I reckon I reckon some Joji merch. You could just have Joji across the front and then maybe like joy of joining in or something. I don't know. We'll go with it. That is the end of it. We are right at the 1 hour mark. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you can join me for the podcast and for Your Music Live and for the happy hour all over the weekend. But for now, I'm taking a much needed day off. So as we say at the end of each show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time here on Studio Live.